This right here is Rough Country's Vertex shocks. And what makes this unique is that they're kind of pricey. Rough Country has historically been known for being a budget lift, entry-level lift kit. Now, they introduced the Vertex shocks in order to compete with the Fox 2.5. So these, a set of 4 that'll go on my 2020 Duramax are about $1,400, which costs more than 90% of their lift kits because 90% of their lift kits are about $1,000. The lift kit that's on my truck, 5-inch Rough Country lift, is roughly about $1,500, $1,600. Now you select the Vertex shocks on your drop-down option, you're looking at $3,000 for Rough Country lift kit. Like I said, historically, Rough Country's been known for making budget lifts, but recently they've been trying to change the image that they have of having cheap lift kits. So they came out with the Vertex shocks. So I'm super excited to test these out. What we're gonna do now is my truck, I'm gonna show you guys in a second. So here we have my 2020 Duramax. It's got the 5-inch Rough Country lift. And so some of the add-ons, some of the upgrades I should say, would be the upper control arms, and it's got the Rough Country shocks that'll come standard with this lift kit. So what we're gonna do now is take this truck out to the front of my neighborhood where there's roads that are uneven and there's a bunch of bumps. We're gonna see how this truck handles that bump with this setup, and then we're gonna put the Rough Country shocks, or we're gonna put the Vertex shocks and see if it makes any kind of difference. Before we get started on installing these shocks, if we look over here, these shocks do have knobs. You can adjust it 1 through 8, 1 being the softest and 8 being the stiffest. I've been doing a lot of thinking on how we're gonna make this work because I wanna make this comparison video pretty legit. I wanna be able to show you guys that these shocks do make a huge difference. So we got this water. Basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this on the cup holder and film just how much the water shakes whenever I go over the bump with the regular shocks versus the Vertex shocks. Also, we're gonna get a couple shots outside of the truck if you can actually visibly tell or see any kind of difference on how the truck handles whenever you go over those bumps. Well, this video is brought to you by Mr. Stan, the Ironhide. Boom. 18-inch lift? 18-inch lift, 40s. It's gonna be a SEMA truck. And it's gonna go up to a 23-inch?
23 inches, 28/16s, and 44-inch boggers.
Woo! Look at that. Yeah, this is gonna be a SEMA 2021 vehicle. I'll do a little screenshot right here of his rendering. Yeah, that's gonna be sick.
Cut this zip tie off right here, and for a minute it took us a minute to kind of figure out what was going on.
We were real confused for a little bit.
yeah, we finally sorted out the issue, and the reason there's a zip tie there is because these are actually removable.
Yep.
And also there's an O-ring in here.
I'll show everybody.
You see that? So
Yep.
if for some reason you get a set of these and you're trying to figure out why it doesn't fit in there properly, it's because you probably dropped it out.
Yep.
Make sure you have the O-ring. Make sure you have both sides of the sleeve for the bushing. And we're gonna push this bad boy up.
Yeah, because we cut the zip ties off the front, top and bottom on that shock, and we were like, so something's not right. And then I looked over there and there was the bushing and O-ring just laying around. So don't make that mistake we made. Bad news, I don't think we're gonna be able to put the front shocks in today. We're gonna have to wait until we can take it to either like Armando's shop or something like that. I think it's gonna require us to use a lift because the dilemma is the bolt that's right there that's holding there. Let me zoom in. That bolt right there, it won't clear. It hits against the gosh. it won't zoom or it won't focus. There we go. Well, I guess you guys can see it. That right there, it won't clear because it hits against the CV axle. There you go, just like that. And I gotta drive this bad boy to Atlanta tomorrow, which is like 2.5 hours. I just don't want to be disassembling like the whole front of the truck, and which is going to require alignment. And so we're just going to wait until Monday or sometime whenever we get a chance to be able to take it to Armando's shop, and we might have to take the whole front end apart, but that's okay. I'll do an alignment then.
Dude, I was thinking about the wheels and I forgot about the wheels.
All right, so this is a perfect time to compare the Vertex shocks with the Fox 2.0 reservoirs. These, dude, look at the size difference. Holy moly. All right, so here we have Fox 2.0 reservoir shocks. And then these are the Vertex shocks from Rough Country. Just look at the size difference. Look at that girth. Yeah, look at the girth on this. But yeah, these are supposed to be competing with the Fox 2.5. Status update. We lifted the truck, and even at full droop, it was actually worse. So really the only option we had is either cut the bolt, either cutting the bolt or removing the CV axle. So I think we're gonna have to just remove the CV axle. That's gonna be the easiest way to get that stupid bolt out. Because if you jack this wheel up the way that bracket is, it actually articulates with the CV axle and it still hides behind it. So yeah, we're just gonna have to remove that CV axle. A few days later, actually a few weeks later, we got this side done, and I'm about to show you guys the whole process of getting it done on this side. So first thing is we actually have to move the CV axle out the way to get to that bolt on the bottom. Basically what we had to do was remove the CV axle and to get to that bolt right there. So yep, that's what we need to do. We're approaching our first bump. So I went over that at 26 miles an hour. This bump right here. Went over it at 25 miles an hour. Huge shout out to Stan for being my camera guy for all the testing. But I have been driving my truck for about 2 weeks now with the shocks just in the rear. And we finally got the front installed, and I've been driving around like that for about a couple days. And I made minor adjustments, and what I've come to find out is, or for me, what I ended up doing is I adjusted the valve in the rear to about 3, because when it was set at 1, that was a little too soft. If I was driving on the interstate, it was awesome. But as soon as I hit those cracks or any kind of uneven surface, my back end would just bounce like pogo stick, because obviously it was on the softest setting. I made minor adjustments. I set it up to about 3, and it definitely handles better in the rear that way. I set the front at about 3 as well, so I could definitely go a little softer. I thought 3 was perfect because it's not too soft and it's also not too stiff. I didn't want it to be too soft, because if it was at 1, you would have a lot of body roll, and I definitely didn't want that. But I wanted the softest ride as possible. So after messing with it for a little bit, 3 was the best setting for me up front. All in all, what do I think of those shocks? I like them a lot. I think they are just as soft, if not better, than my Bilstein 5100s on my 05 Sierra, my LLY Duramax. And honestly, it's really not fair to compare it to that truck, because that truck is just that much lighter. In terms of it being smooth, I mean, obviously, if I wanted it to make it ride stiffer, I can. If I wanted to make it ride softer, I can also do that too. So having that option is awesome. For a set of 4 shocks, and you're only paying about $1,400, you have the option to adjust the stiffness of the shocks. I think that's a really good value. Personally, I definitely like them better than Fox 2.0 shocks, and that's just because I'm not a huge fan of how stiff Fox shocks ride, because like I said, I've always liked the Bilsteins over Fox, and that's just my preference. I like softer riding shocks. So yeah, all in all, if you have a rough country kit, and if you're buying that kit for your 2020 Duramax, it'll give you the option to add the Vertex shocks, and I would say go for it. The extra $1,400, it's totally worth it. The shocks that they give you with the kit isn't the best, and for extra $1,400, you can get 4 shocks, which is not bad at all. It'll improve your ride quality tremendously, so I highly recommend it. That is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. I've always been kind of curious of the Vertex shocks, and I'm so glad I got them on the truck now, so that way I can do some testing and stuff, and I've come to a conclusion that they are actually really nice shocks. I guess to end this video, let's say if you're in the market for a 5-inch lift kit, your question might be, why should you go with rough country versus zone? And I will recommend both. And the reason why you might want to choose a rough country versus zone is the non-torsion drop system. Some people like the way the torsion bars don't show up, and that's also why the previous owner of my truck, the original owner I should say, put the rough country lift on that truck before I bought it, because he wanted the non-torsion drop system. But zone, they dropped the torsion bars, and he didn't like the way they looked. And he also took his truck out to his hunt club where he needed more clearance, and so that was one of the reasons why he did go with rough country. And if you are thinking about buying a 5-inch lift and you want the non-torsion drop system, I would actually recommend rough country, as long as you upgrade the shocks to Vertex shocks. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up, but I'll see you guys next time. Peace.